Hey, what's going on guys? In this video we're doing a comparison of the LG G Flex 2 up against the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. So I want to start this comparison off by comparing the LED notification lights. Both of them blink on the top left corner of each device. The LG G Flex 2 is on the left. You'll notice that the G Flex 2 only pulses every 15 seconds, whereas the Note 4 pulses about every 5 seconds. Not only does it have that advantage, but the Note 4's LED notification light is actually a little bit bigger than that of the G Flex 2. Now when it comes to the size comparison, both devices are rather large, but I placed the G Flex 2 on top of the Note 4 because the Note 4 is actually longer and wider than the G Flex 2. Theoretically though, technically the G Flex 2 is actually thicker because it has that curve, so it actually makes it a little bit wider in the pocket. So the G Flex 2 is weighing in 154 grams while the Note 4 is weighing 176 grams. But that slight difference you can tell just a little bit if you're holding both of them in the hand. So because the G Flex 2 is lighter and a little bit smaller than the Note 4, it has better mobility. Not only that, the G Flex 2 is a better feeling device. This is actually due to a couple reasons. First is that the volume rocker buttons and power buttons are easy to reach with the index finger, and that curved design makes it feel a little bit more natural in the hand. Whereas the Note 4, yeah, it's okay for a large device, but the volume rocker buttons are a little difficult to reach on the left side here. It's not easy, you're going to have to use two hands to achieve that, and because it is a straight device, it doesn't feel as natural in the hand as the G Flex 2. Now when deciding the better looking device, it is a matter of personal preference, but I have to say overall that the G Flex 2 is a much more sleeker and cooler looking device compared to the Note 4. And the same can be said about the back, as you have this texture on the Note 4, whereas the G Flex 2 backing has a nice glossy design. So whether it's the front or the back, the G Flex 2 is a better looking device. Now both devices do have some awesome looking screens, but the G Flex 2 is coming in at 1080p, whereas the Note 4 below, it has a 1440p screen, or 2K if you want to call it. Now both devices, it is very difficult to tell the difference in sharpness and clarity because the screen sizes are so small compared to say a TV. But they do have a little bit of a difference. If you're looking really hard and really squinting, yes, the Note 4 will be a little bit sharper than that of the G Flex 2. Both of them have some great color pop, however the color pop is a little bit better on that of the Note 4. Another thing to mention is that the Note 4 is at about 20% brightness, whereas the G Flex 2 is about 40% brightness. So the Note 4 can actually get about 20% brighter than that of the G Flex 2. But one thing that can't be argued is that both devices have fantastic viewing angles, there's no tinting or any color loss. Now the G Flex 2 is available in 16 or 32 gigs of internal storage. However, it does have a micro SD card slot, so you can add an external storage of up to 2 whopping terabytes. Yes, 2 terabytes. And there has been some debates that the G Flex 2 32 gig version comes with 3 gigs of RAM. That is not the case. I have that version, it only comes with 2 gigs. So whether you're getting the 16 or 32 gigs version of the G Flex 2, it only comes with 2 gigs of RAM. The Note 4, however, is only available in 32 gigs of internal storage. It does also have a micro SD card slot, but it supports a maximum of 128 gigs external storage, and it comes with 3 gigs of RAM. Even though the Note 4 has an extra gig of RAM, a lot of it is being used by exclusive Samsung features. In terms of speed and performance, the LG G Flex 2 is a fantastic, very snappy device, and despite it only having 2 gigs of RAM, that's not an issue. You can see how many apps I have open, it's insane. When it comes to switching between open apps, it's blazingly fast. The only time I could notice a bit of a stuttering issue is when I was switching over to the Q slide function. And the Q slide function is basically minimize apps that are like a floating window, but you are noticing that there's a bit of stuttering in the frame rate when I'm dragging the windows around. Not a major deal, but it's just a bit bizarre that that would happen. When it comes to general gaming performance on the G Flex 2, this is a device that will not disappoint, it handles everything easily. The Note 4 is no exception when it comes to speed and is blazingly fast just like that of the G Flex 2, although its disadvantage is when it comes to opening recent apps. By no means is it slow, but it's a little bit slower compared to the G Flex 2, and I'm able to tell this because I have both devices. Anyone else wouldn't really notice the difference. Although the Note 4 does have some advantages, for example when it comes to using the multi-window function, it is a lot smoother and a lot more responsive than that built into the G Flex 2. And this great performance carries over to playing the top graphic Android games on the Note 4 as well. And when it comes to wireless technology, both devices support the usual, like GPS, Wi-Fi, which supports 802.11a, B, G, N, and AC, DLNA, an NFC chip, GPS chips, so on and so forth. And some of the more cooler things what you're seeing right now is Mirrorcast, which basically allows you to mirror whatever is on your LG G Flex 2 or Note 4, as they both have this technology, to a TV if it supports Mirrorcast. Not only that, both of them also have an IR blaster built inside, so you can use both devices as a universal remote control for your various home theater devices if they are supported by the sensor. The one advantage that the Note 4 does have is of course that feature called Download Booster, which basically allows you to combine your Wi-Fi and LTE speeds together to download files much faster. So what you guys are seeing right now is actually 4K footage being recorded with the LG G Flex 2's rear camera, although the footage has been compressed down to 1080p just to match the resolution of the rest of the video. Overall, the quality is very sharp. It's great 4K footage, although panning left and right, if you go a little bit too quick, you do get a warping jello effect you might notice in this video. But just moving along, this is a zoom test right now. So this is maximum 8x zoom. This is roughly 4.6x. It's hard to get it right on the 5. And this is 2x zoom right here. So going back to regular, panning left and right, I noticed that the stabilization actually works against you in video because of that warping effect. This time you're viewing footage taken with the Note 4's rear camera. Again, this is 4K footage compressed down to 1080p. And the footage looks fantastic. It's really sharp, just as sharp as the LG G Flex 2. You can't argue that it looks great. So here's a zoom test. This is max zoom at 8x. And just going back, this is about 4.5x. And let's go back to 2x for you guys, right here. And then go back to normal. There's no stabilization effect, like bad effects on the Note 4. The colors have more pop. Generally, the Note 4 camera is better. And of course, this carries over to the picture quality performance. This is the G Flex 2, and this is the Note 4 camera footage. Overall, in terms of picture quality and video quality, the Note 4 is still one of the best on the market, although the G Flex 2 is decent, it's okay. So you guys are seeing and hearing is being recorded with the LG G Flex 2 camera. I'm not using my microphone anymore. Everything's done straight through the camera, and the quality of the front-facing camera is okay. It records in 1080p at 30 frames per second. Nothing to really boast about. It's just your average front-facing camera. So what you guys are seeing and hearing is being recorded with the front-facing camera of the Note 4, and it records in 1440p. Nothing outstanding, but for a front-facing camera, it looks pretty good, better than that of the LG G Flex 2. Not only that, I'm also not getting as much of a cropping factor. With the G Flex 2, I held my arm just as far out, but it looked more like this, I believe. So I'm getting a lot more picture in, which is a lot better. And not only that, the camera app within the Note 4 is a lot more superior to that of the G Flex 2. Almost every feature that's included in the G Flex 2's camera app is included in the Note 4 and more. There are, however, a few exclusive features, not many, maybe just a couple, that are included with the G Flex 2's camera app, but nothing amazing. The Note 4 camera front and rear are better, as well as the camera app. Now if you want to know the camera app features and functions, you can find their individual video reviews of each device, or the tips and tricks videos, which I go into even more details about other various features, as well as the camera functions. You can find links to all those videos in the video description. Okay, so I'm going to do my speaker volume test, and I'm using my camera microphone for this particular segment. So both devices have their individual speaker on the rear, so when I play the sample on each device, I'm going to lift it up to let the sound bounce back a little bit better. And also keep in mind that I'm playing both at max volume on the same video at the exact same time spot. And the video is actually a YouTube video from my channel. It's a review of the LG G Flex 2, which is obviously you can find a link to it in the video description. So let's do the sample, but keep in mind I'll be able to notice the sound sharpness and volume better with my own ears. So let's start with the G Flex 2. These devices are remote controlled for various home theater devices, if they're supported, of course. And over onto the right side, we also have nothing as well. This is actually mainly due to because the volume rocker button. And let's go over to the Note 4. For various home theater devices, if they're supported, of course. And over onto the right side, we also have nothing as well. This is actually mainly due to because the volume rocker button and power button, as I mentioned earlier, are at the back just below. So what I'm noticing with my own ears, which is better than the camera microphone, is that the LG G Flex 2 is decent in terms of volume level, but the Note 4 is very much more powerful and a little bit sharper. In fact, the G Flex 2, when it's lifted up, sounds about the same volume as while the Note 4 is still resting down on the desk like that. Both devices have some pretty great battery performance, especially considering I'm able to get a day and a half minimum with both devices, and this includes checking email, Facebook, a bit of YouTube, just general day-to-day stuff and voice calls. Keep in mind that the Note 4 battery is 7% bigger than that of the G Flex 2, but I notice I'm able to get much more hours of performance out of it compared to that of the G Flex 2. Both devices also have a battery saving mode, except the Note 4 has 2 battery saving modes instead of 1. And not only that, the battery can be removed from the Note 4, you can actually swap them around, but you can't do that with the G Flex 2 because it is a unibody sealed design, so the battery is permanently sealed inside. And just to add to that battery fact, both devices do come with special chargers out of the box. They do have this fast recharge effect. I'm able to recharge about 50% of the battery on the G Flex 2 in about 40 minutes, and I'm able to recharge about 50% of the battery on the Note 4 in about 32 minutes. So the Note 4 is a little bit faster, but they both have that awesome feature included. Now going over the exclusive features of the LG G Flex 2, there are a couple of physical exclusive features. One is that flexibility, there's no worry about cracking the body or the screen itself. Then of course is that self-healing back, which, going over it with some car keys and some light scratches and some rough scratches over a period of time of friction and heat and rubbing it with your palm, for example, it can heal the back. Now some of the lighter scratches do disappear completely, and some of the more rough scratches are permanent, but they do become a bit more faint. So in your pocket, it shouldn't be a worry about getting scratches from, say, your car keys. You also have the ability to, say, double tap on a blank area on the home screen to turn off the screen, and while the screen is off, if you double tap it, it'll actually wake it up as well. Double tapping the notification bar also allows you to turn off the screen, and the volume rocker buttons have a couple of shortcuts. The down volume button, if you press and hold it for a while, it will turn the camera on automatically, and there I am. And there's also that very popular knock code security panel, so I've actually activated it and I've put in a secret pin, and no matter what I tap and press, it won't work unless I put in the correct tapping patterns. So here it is. Now you can see now I'm able to access the phone itself. The Note 4 has plenty of exclusive features. One of course is that S Pen, the stylus that actually comes with the device. And it has a few app shortcuts available when you press the button and activate it. There's also the multi-window function. As you can see, I have the gallery open on the bottom and the calendar at the top, and it's much more fluid on the Note 4 than it is on the LG G Flex 2. And of course, the home button actually works as a fingerprint scanner for the lock screen. The flash actually has a heart rate sensor built into it if you want to check your heart rate. So it does have its fair share of exclusive features. Actually a ridiculous amount packed inside, which I can't even begin to go into more in this video because it'd be over an hour long. Phone call quality on the Note 4 is pretty decent. It's pretty much what you find on the industry standard, but the LG G Flex 2 is the exception. This is actually a better device when it comes to phone calls. In fact, it's one of the best devices I ever used in terms of phone call quality. So the LG G Flex 2 is a great device with a very minimalistic interface, which isn't bad. People that are new to Android, for example, won't be lost as you have a lot of pop-ups explaining how to do certain things. For example, when you open the camera for the first time, it'll give you a pop-up of what you can do. Then of course there are some exclusive features like that double tap to wake up the screen, the knock code security, which is always a great feature to have, the flexing body, and the healing back. Oddly enough, this is a rugged device, but it's not dust and water resistant, but I don't find that as a major deal. Of course, there's a worry that the Snapdragon 810 processor will encounter some overheating issues. That's never happened once. In fact, even when recording my gaming demo video with the LG G Flex 2, I was playing the top graphic Android games one after another, I never experienced overheating at all. In fact, it barely got warm at all. It stayed really cool. Despite the body being large, it is a phablet-sized device. It's quite comfortable to hold due to that flex, and the index finger at the back can easily reach the volume rocker buttons and the power button. However, the camera performance on the rear side, despite 4K looking very sharp, panning left and right a little bit quick does look bizarre. You get this jello warping effect because of stabilization. And of course, the camera performs terrible in low lighting situations, even for a smartphone. The Note 4, on the other hand, has an amazing screen, slightly better than the G Flex 2, one of the best on the market for sure. It has great front and rear cameras, one of the best cameras on the rear on a smartphone on the market currently. There's a lot of features packed out of the box, like an insane amount. The S Pen stylus is very responsive and it has a few cool features added to it from Samsung. There's a lot of connectivity features like the download booster I mentioned, the heart rate sensor, and the fingerprint scanner. You can even increase the screen sensitivity to wear gloves while using the device if you're in a cold environment. And it has almost all the same features as the LG G Flex 2 does, but more. There are a few more that are exclusive to the LG G Flex 2, but not many. The primary downsides, of course, with the Note 4 is that the system settings menu is a bit of a cluttered mess, whereas it's very clean on the G Flex 2, and there are a few things in the notification bar that take up a lot of unnecessary space that can't be removed. Generally speaking, both devices are great and worth checking out. Again, you can find their individual video reviews and a whole bunch of other videos in the video description. So if you guys found this video useful, be sure to check my Facebook, Google+, Twitter links also in the video description. Hit the like button, it does help, subscribe, and thanks for watching.